Good evening, everybody. I'm Fictional Crystals, and it's official, Season 6 is gonna break us. Several members of the press for Voltron have already been able to see the Season 6 episodes. I will link them in the description. The Geek Dad article, which vaguely describes what happens in each episode of Season 6, got removed at the time I'm recording this video. However, most of us have already been able to get screenshots of it. We've got the trailer for this season, but with the words of the people who have already seen the season, we can get even more of an insight on what's happening. So, starting off with Episode 1 of Season 6, Omega Shield. This one's basically Kalra Politics. We know many Kalra have sided with Emperor Lotor and Team Voltron, but other factions have rebelled against him, including Sendek. Sendek thinks he can lead better than Lotor. As we can see in the Season 6 trailer, he's trying to make the Kalra that side with Lotor fear him so they join him. He's terrorizing them to get them on his side.
Kalra citizens who side with Lotor will be destroyed.
In the trailer, we repeatedly see this planet. There are structures on it, and this thing above it is the Omega Shield. This episode focuses heavily on Hunk as well. Hunk manages to salvage a situation that would have otherwise been catastrophic. Early in this episode, Hunk seeks out cultural knowledge, which helps to stop Sendek later in the episode. This episode ends with a surprise about Hagar. Voltron's Twitter posted a video of this episode. In it, we got to see Hunk salvage a situation. One Kalra was okay with working with Team Voltron, one wasn't. Sendek attacked earlier in the episode. He terrorized Kalra citizens of this planet and did damage to the Omega Shield. The Omega Shield protects the planet. Its specific purpose in this is to protect the planet from this beam. Lance and Allura fix it together. Lance was being a little flirty with Allura. This is the first time he's acted like that while talking to her in quite a while. However, Allura doesn't reciprocate those feelings. According to one of the articles, Lotor and Allura grow much closer this season. They had several blatantly romantic scenes in Season 5, and there will be more romance development between them in Season 6. The article says their growing relationship has more than one consequence over the course of the season. One of the consequences will probably involve the rift. Another is Lance. Their closeness leads to some revelations for him, which feels like a natural step forward on his personal journey. Lance sees what's going on between Lotor and Allura. He's trying to step up his game with her because of it. In fact, he used a line on her that was similar to one Lotor used on her.
I couldn't have thought of it without you, though.
I cannot do this without you.
In Lance's Paladin vlog, he was overcompensating. He was saying that Allura is totally into him, but she's not. And deep down, he knows that. She does love and care about him and never wants to intentionally hurt his feelings. She is very thankful to have him around, and they've helped each other. Lance pushes Allura out of the way of harm in the trailer. He ends up taking the hit. Their relationship has developed so much since Season 1, except her love for him, as far as we know, isn't romantic. Lance will come to terms with that this season. Lance will see that she doesn't view him in the same way she views Lotor. The two of them have a great friendship. Lance will realize it doesn't need to be more than that. Allura's happy. He'd never force her to do something she didn't want to do. He'll mature a lot this season. When it comes to relationships, leadership, and responsibility, and plenty more, I'm sure. Jeremy Shader, Lance's voice actor, said Lance still thinks he has a chance with Allura. Lauren and Joaquim, the show's co-executive producers, said Lance will end up in a very different place from where he started in regards to his romance arc. We know he immediately started openly crushing on Allura, despite her reactions back during Season 1. His crush on Allura may conclude or begin to conclude this season. They are definitely going to get romantically coded scenes this season. There is no doubt about that. But the way it ends up may not be romantic due to Allura's side. We should just wait and see. Perhaps we'll see that Allura does reciprocate Lance's feelings. And Lance was the one misinterpreting that Allura's feelings for Lotor were romantic instead. But on the other hand, Lance might be misinterpreting Allura's care for him as romantic feelings for him. Personally, I think it'd be a much better message for kids if Lance were to get over his feelings for Allura and come to terms with the fact that she sees him as just a friend, rather than the message being if you pursue someone long enough and are nice enough to them, they're bound to like you back. Again though, we should just wait for the episodes to see what happens on this. Another parallel this scene had, aside from that line with Lotor, was with the bonding moment. Lance tells Allura that they make a great team, which he told Keith back in Season 1.
Really, I think we make a great team.
We are a good team.
He holds his own hands, which he did with Keith while saying they make a good team. And then he cradles himself, which he also did with Keith during the bonding moment.
I cradled you in my arms!
Jeremy Shader said Keith leaving the team left a void in Lance. The expression Lance made when Keith left also told us this. Keith's returning to the team now. He brushed Lance off when he saw him, and that hurt Lance. Although he does understand what Keith's going through, why he's angry, and why he left. Lance's relationships with Allura and Keith are both going to be addressed this season. Lately, Lance's has felt unimportant and isolated.
So I guess I don't have anything going on. Might as well play your little nerd game.
That needs to be addressed. Okay, so I was about to upload this video and then I saw a massive spoiler. Episode 1 of Season 6 was released early in Portugal. I'll link the spoiler in the description, and I'll talk about it here too. Yeah, well, like I said earlier, Lance pushes Allura out of the way of the blast and takes the blast himself. That blast is from the Omega Shield right after they thought they fixed it. And no easy way to put this. Lance sacrifices himself for Allura and literally dies. I'm not kidding you. Allura has to go into the Red Lion and bring him back with her powers. It's okay, her quintessence powers do bring him back to life. It's not the first time she's replenished life to something. But still, he quiznacking died. I just watched the clip about a minute ago, so I'm freaking out right now. I legitimately made a theory video almost a year ago saying that Lance would sacrifice himself, die, and then get brought back to life. Whew, okay. Aside from that, this is a great reminder of Allura's powers. It's reminding us that she can replenish life. That power of hers may come into play even later in the season. Lance's sacrifice isn't the only sacrifice that is happening this season. I swear if Lance ends up sacrificing himself again in the season final, on another more comedic note, Lotor has a nanny. She might be the one who's giving Hunk the cultural knowledge he needs. Hunk is the good child. The lady's strict. Yet she was the one who helped Lotor get where he is today. She spent time with him when his parents wouldn't, which was often. You have to commend her for that. She's proud that he won the Krolia. I swear, if she ends up sacrificing herself too, nobody's safe anymore. A staff member at DreamWorks posted these Season 6 spoilers with no context a while ago. The nanny part has come true. I'm not sure what the Cosmo's about, could be Cosmos or something that we just completely don't know about yet. Or it relates to the D&D episode where they change outfits. Cosmo's known for changing forms. And the spaghettification could refer to a wormhole, a black hole/white hole, what Kimberly said that makes the Paladins sleep, the alternate realities/rift, or Keith and Krolia's mission, which I talk about later in this video. Frankly, I don't want to guess what the thrust part of this means. The new leak was intense, and that was just the first episode. Even though I've analysed what's been said about the season, I think it's still going to be very shocking and unpredictable. This season really is going to break us. Anyway, back to the stuff I recorded earlier. The end of the clip Voltron gave us has Krolia using his arm on Kalra tech like Shiro did in Season 1. He starts getting visions of Ahhh. She managed to make it into Orionde, except she didn't have the stone Allura and Lotor used to get past the sages. So instead, she's using her magic. She's messing with ancient Altaian culture because of it. Lotor is not going to like that once he finds out. She's able to see through Kronia's eyes. Now Krolia is able to see her back, and he saw the White Lion in one of the forms of the astral plane. That might have been another Ahhh vision. She's the one seeing the White Lion, so he is too. What she did to create him with her Altaian magic, that may be a reason he's able to see this. Kronia's quintessence is tied to her quintessence.
I made you strong, and this is how you repay me.
Or it ties in with the Black Lion and the real Shiro. The Black Lion knows Krolia is a clone. He doesn't have the same quintessence as the real Shiro. It's why the Black Lion was hesitant on letting him pilot it, and why his bear didn't send him into the astral plane like the other bears did to the other paladins in Season 5. That's real Shiro they saw there. The knowledge Alpha got from Orionde helped make the lions what they are. The spirit of the White Lion is inside all of the lions. The astral plane entered through Voltron's lions, is connected to this realm in Orionde entered through the White Lion. The Black Lion only let Krolia pilot it when he felt like the real Shiro, when he remembered his memories, and wanted to protect his team like him. The White and the Black Lion know he's under Ahhh's influence, that Kronia's quintessence is tied to hers. The knowledge Ahhh gains from Orionde is going to be detrimental. All the stuff she could do to affect Team Voltron after going there. She's powerful enough as it is. I'm getting vibes of an old Voltron comic from all the Krolia mind stuff and Altaian stuff going on. It's not the first time Ahhh's been in his mind and he served her.
Do you really think a monster like you could be a Voltron Paladin?
One of the articles said there are flashback scenes for several characters. The flashbacks clear up some timelines, considering all the tension that's going on between Ahhh and Lotor and Zarkon being dead. One of the flashbacks will probably focus on the Kalra royal family, Lotor, Ahhh, Zarkon. The process of finding out he's a clone will hurt Krolia and the team. He's completely unaware he's a clone, but now all the pieces are coming together. Handling that revelation will be hard for all of them. Episode 2 is Razor's Edge. This episode is Keith and Krolia's mission mission to find some special quintessence. They were dealing with potent quintessence in Season 5, and Keith was dealing with Lotor's blue quintessence in Season 4. Both of those quintessence were very powerful. The one they're looking for now might be one of those two, or an even more powerful one that's causing these explosions that we see in the trailer. This episode has some weird time stuff going on. The time distortion causes flashbacks and flash forwards. What causes it might be called Time Wolf. It made the person writing the article think of Star Wars Rebels. It made me think of What's the Time, Mr. Wolf? We really have no clue about what Time Wolf is other than that, so we can only guess. We know Keith is a lone wolf.
I'm the loner.
But thanks to Krolia, he is going to be improving his connections. He'll mature, but I'll talk about that more later on. What if Keith somehow is the Time Wolf? It could be something related to his childhood, something important to him. Or it's this weird-shaped planet-looking thing here. It's related to the special quintessence. Or Time Wolf is a Galrus/Altan creation. The Altans were very advanced. The things they could do with their technology and quintessence were almost magical. Traces of the Altans are still around. The White Lion, the terraforming planet Noxella, the various places Lotor has been to, and the relics Hagar has gotten. Altans could make wormholes. I wouldn't be surprised if Time Wolf was an Altan creation as well, or at least a Kalra project with Altan influence or quintessence. Hagar was able to see her past with her powers. Maybe the Time Wolf is like the White Lion. The name Time Wolf reminds me a lot of a name from Beast King Go Lion, the series Voltron originates from. It was called Space Wolf, and it was a massive gravity well. Hagar's Session Nerva shifted its course. This episode gives us flashbacks to baby Keith, Krolia, and Keith's dad. It fills in the pieces of why Krolia went to Earth, how she met Keith's dad, why she left, and why Keith's dad left later on, and potentially how Keith met Shiro. It's not just us viewers seeing the flashbacks. Keith and Krolia are going to get to see them too through the time stuff. And they also get to see flash forwards. I think in the flash forwards they'll be finding out something about Crone. It's why Keith is angrily looking at Crone when he returns to the team. He gets a glimpse into the future of how Crone turns on them. Maybe he sees Hagar too, Lotor, and the big end of season battle. A tease of season 7 possibly. Keith and Krolia find something they didn't expect at the end of the episode. It's likely another thing about Crone/Shiro. For instance, he sees part of Hagar and the General's work. He finds a bit of Operation Crone or a trace of the real Shiro, or the super weapon. What he gets to know through the flash forwards and what he finds at the end of the episode will lead him and Krolia to go back to Team Voltron. They have important information to give, which is why Keith is in such a hurry and looks so angry in this trailer. It'll be interesting to see how the time stuff fits into future episodes. The episode's name, Razor's Edge, relates to one of two things. The place they're on a mission to is called Razor's Edge, or Razor's Edge relates to Keith's blade, his childhood, how Krolia and his dad met. Anybody got any guesses on Keith's dad's name? Episode 3 is the Dungeons & Dragons themed episode called Monsters and Mana. This episode is a fun team building episode, but with the villain of the episode giving a hint to Shiro being a clone. We've seen Lance, Pidge, Allura, Hunk, and Corone in their D&D outfits. Though from what the article says, it seems like there will be more characters we know in D&D forms. Imagine Hagar, Lotor, or Syndic as the bad guy, Keith as the princess. Thank you, AJ. Keith and Krolia are going to be on their way to the castle ship while these guys are playing their game. There'd also probably be some new characters in this episode. Wait, so the abbreviation of Dungeons & Dragons is D&D. Since it's called Monsters and Mana in the Voltron universe, would it be referred to as Eminem? A clip for this episode was also released. It's a digital board game. Lance says it's a nerd game, yet he's played video games on the show in the past. He's just acting like he's too cool for it around Allura. They're taking a break from all the stuff that's going on. Allura mentions that Lotor's busy, so she'll play the game. Then Lance immediately jumps in and decides to play. This season does seem to be setting up him confronting his feelings for Allura.
I was in love with you, okay? And you didn't love me back.
He mentions the Alexian Pearl from the Voltron comics, confirming once again that the Voltron comics are canon. In the game, Allura kills Mushroom Kran and Lance takes the loot. Kran's the lore master of the game. Even though the mushroom with a mustache died at the start, I can see more characters with Kran's mustache popping up throughout the game. Lance said this was a nerd game and then he gets the most into it. I mean, he should have an idea of what he's doing, despite how he's trying to play it cool. That game he played in Season 4 involved Dungeons & Dragons. I wouldn't be surprised if the team ends up in a battle in this episode like he did in this game, except they actually beat it this time. He even knew Pidge's character was a dwarf immediately. Pidge's character's name is Mechalvar, and Lance is a thief called Pike. Pike is another word for Lance. Not only that, but the fact that his character's appearance is feline and he's a thief, I guess makes him a cat burglar. He has stolen Pidge's stuff before. Lance definitely has a thing for ninjas.
I'm a ninja assassin.
I'm like the cool ninja sharpshooter.
No other characters are playing the game. However, we might still see them in this episode as NPCs. They're on a quest to find a wizard. The wizard seems to be the bad guy of the episode, and will give a hint to what's going on with Corone. If the wizard's giving a clue to Corone being a clone, the wizard might be a version of Ahhh, unless it's a completely new character. Why do I get the gut feeling it's going to be another one of Corone's characters though? Allura summons a mount and it comes through a version of an Allura wormhole. They head to the place we saw in this clip, the one where Allura's protecting another character from a dragon-like creature. This place gives me the same vibe as the Allura ruins Lotor visited. Episode 4 is the colony. Lotor and Allura head into the rift this episode, with a new syncline ship that they built together. This is the third one.
We will have more than enough for the creation of the third.
We get a brief glimpse of it fighting the Black Lion in the trailer. They need to gather quintessence from the rift to support the Kalra Empire, to show the factions of Kalra against Lotor that he is a capable leader. Even if he does get the quintessence though, that won't stop all the infights. The Kalra are tearing themselves apart. The dark creatures from the rift 10,000 years ago are still lurking around. They could still be in the rift when Lotor and Allura go there. If they are, they'll swarm the syncline ship, try to corrupt them. Lotor, even though he doesn't want to admit it, shares traits with his father and his mother as she was becoming corrupted. He's pushing into dangerous territory in pursuit of knowledge.
We must always push into dangerous territory in pursuit of knowledge.
And quintessence. Allura knows what happened when Unnerva and Zarkon went into the rift. Allura will see his victory or death mentality if the dark creatures show up. She'll see how obsessed he is with his goal and try to stop him from doing something stupid that he'll regret. He doesn't want her to get hurt either. Krolia and Keith return while they are gone. In the trailer, we see Keith return once with a 2-seated ship and another time with a 1-seated ship. I'm wondering if he actually goes back and forth to the team, or if one of the seats in the ship is just cut out of shot. Lance says, "How do we know you're the real Keith?" and "Hey everybody, Keith's back." Both of these bits of dialogue for him don't match his expressions. The "Hey everybody, Keith's back" bit is also slightly out of sync with his lips.
How do we know you're the real Keith?
Hey, everybody, Keith's back!
From his hand gestures and expressions, it looks more like he's telling Keith to calm down.
Calm down.
Leading me to believe that Lance's bits of dialogue were added on from some other scenes. Lotor's generals arrive at the castle ship. Like I thought, they're the ones shooting at Pidge and Krolia. They're in the hangar, where another one of Lotor's syncline ships is. If they manage to get it, oh boy, Ahhh can go into the rift if she gets that and combines it with her alchemy powers. Another reason they are there is because of Corone. Ahhh puts the next stage of her Operation Corone plan into action. She's found out Lotor is heading to the rift, and needs Corone to deal with it. He could be the one in the Black Lion attacking the syncline ship here. If it's not Keith because of a Lotor betrayal or something. We saw how distressed Ahhh was when she found out Lotor had a trans-reality comet. The generals might be there to escort Corone somewhere, along with finding out Lotor's going into the rift. Team Voltron finding out Corone isn't the real Shiro is another reason for Ahhh to get to the next stage of her operation. Episode 5 is the Black Paladins. Shiro, Corone, and Keith. This is the episode Keith returns as the Black Paladin, or at least it's leading up to him becoming the Black Paladin in the episode after this. In the stills for the final episode of season 6, there is Lance in the red lion, Pidge in green, Hunk in yellow, and Allura in blue. Yet they didn't show a picture of the Black Paladin, because it's Keith. By this point in the season, Keith's gone through enough self-growth to become the Black Paladin. He wasn't ready to be the Black Paladin in season 3. Now, because of what he learns through his time with Krolia, he is stable and confident enough to be the Black Paladin. She'll get him past his fear of getting close to people because he thinks they'll leave him first.
I push them away before they reject me.
His mentality has changed. He'll approach problems less impulsively. The team also helps him with this. He changes mentally and physically. The physical change is the Kalra mark we saw in him in that Netflix thumbnail, but adding on to that, it might be a slight size change. He does look a tiny tad bigger in the trailer, though the extra definition on his body may just be the animation improving. The lights on his suit look a little different too. Extra definition on some characters fluctuates between episodes.
Underneath his uniform, he wears foam rubber shoulder pads.
Keith could potentially get a hair change to be closer to Krolia's. Somebody's hair will be changing this season. Lance is also definitely going to be maturing more this season, building onto what he already got in season 5. And Hunk is getting his moments in the first episode. Hunk used to be so scared of everything. Look at him now. One of the friendships has been a focus since season 1 of Voltron will go through a big conflict. There is a high chance it's Shiro and Keith's. The way Corone treated Keith in the previous seasons was questionable, and even before that, when it was really Shiro. Shiro thrust leadership upon Keith and he kept disappearing. That added on to just the general Krolia and Ahhh situation will be a focus of discussion this season. Along with that relationship focus, there's Lance and Allura and Lance and Keith, like I said earlier. All of them started in season 1. Lotor confronts Ahhh in episode 5. An old alliance is rekindled. After all the spying and messing with his business Ahh's been doing, Lotor is not happy. We've seen what he's done to Ahh's puppets before. After something as big as Krolia and her going to Orion, Lotor was bound to go to her. I hope this is the episode Ahhh reveals to Lotor that she is Unnerva. They get into an argument, maybe even a fight before she reveals it. As for the alliance part of this, I do believe Lotor already knows Ahhh is Unnerva. Like Lauren and Joaquin, the show's co-executive producers have said, Lotor is smart enough to put the pieces together. He's simply blocking the idea out of his head completely. He's in total denial. When he's forced to accept that Ahhh is Unnerva, it's going to destroy him. His mother, an Altan alchemist who has made many breakthroughs that he has looked up to all his life, is this witch who he despises. This revelation for him could end up with him wanting to form an alliance with Unnerva to reach his goal. That is only if he's willing to forgive her for becoming Ahhh and what she did as Ahhh. I doubt forgiving her will be that simple. He's going to be distraught after finding out. He won't be sure what to do. Or he might be on the verge of killing her. That did happen in the original version of Voltron. The two of them confronted each other, leading to a fight. He got her at his sword point. She revealed to him something he didn't know at the time, which was that he was half Altan, and then he killed her. But what he found out from her haunted him. The old alliance may be between Ahhh/Unnerva and Lotor, but as far as we know, the two of them haven't been in an alliance before. They've worked together, just not sure if you would really call it an alliance. So it can't exactly be an old alliance that's formed again. However, an alliance with the generals would be. The generals are still somewhat loyal to Lotor, Ahhh in particular. They only left him for their own survival.
I'm sorry, sir. Nothing personal. This is our only way out.
I understand, Zethrid.
They thought they were going to be killed because of the Emperor's orders. Now Lotor is the Emperor. They were upset by what Lotor did to Narti. They didn't know that Ahhh was using Narti to spy on them. Maybe that Narti was even artificially made by Ahhh, which is why Narti had her cat. Why Ahhh could see through her eyes, when we've only seen her do that to artificially made people like Krolia. And why she shares some strange similarities with the superweapon. And the description for Narti on Voltron.com says she has a mysterious past. If the generals find out what Ahhh did to Narti, they might not want to be on her side anymore. Or if something happens to Ahhh, then the generals don't really have anywhere else to go except to Lotor. He can convince them to stop following Ahhh. Lotor will have pilots for all 3 of his syncline ships if they return. Dark Voltron, anybody? The still we got for this episode is Voltron flying away from what appears to be planet Divazal. I am terrified by what Lotor did in the Rift and what Ahhh is doing to prevent that. Rift creatures, are you there? Episode 6 is All Good Things. The title All Good Things sounds nice. If it wasn't for the saying all good things must come to an end. The results of Krolia and Keith's face-off from episode 5 become clear. Along with Ahhh and Lotor's, several new things are revealed about the Black Lion. The Paladins understand what the real Shiro's warning was from season 5 in the astral plane. What's revealed about the Black Lion is probably why it decided to send Shiro away. Maybe some new Black Lion powers are revealed, and the truth about the astral plane Shiro is found out. We only heard the real Shiro yelling at Lance in season 5. Us and Lance didn't get to hear anything else from him that season. What was his warning about? We don't know. Was it about where he went? Was it that the Shiro on the team is a clone? Or does the real Shiro know about a much bigger project? Why did the Black Lion send Shiro away? We know the Paladins' Bayards amplify their connections to the lions, their life forces, their quintessence. Shiro used the Black Bayard right before being sent away in season 2. Maybe that amplified his already extremely strong connection with the Black Lion, sending him into the astral plane shortly after he used it. What if he can see through the lion's eyes like he did in episode 2? Or there are the options Keith suggested.
Maybe Zarkon forced it to.
Zarkon was fighting for the Black Lion's control until the end. He might have had enough power over the Black Lion to send Shiro away. He did as much damage to Shiro as Shiro did to him. I mean, that would explain why they sent out Krolia. They obviously planned on letting Krolia escape from captivity. He wasn't strapped down, the doors were wide open, and there were no Galra guarding him. They didn't send any ships after him, and this Galra said it was just a stage of their operation.
Operation Caron's Stage 3 is underway.
It'd be stupid if they sent out a Shiro lookalike while the real Shiro was still on the team.
Perhaps my father did as much damage to their team as they did to him.
Or the Black Lions sent him away to save him. He took a lot of damage in the season finale, and could have died if he took any more.
Maybe he was trying to save you.
Episode 7 is Defenders of All Universes. An epic battle, a devastating sacrifice, the return of an old friend, and a hair change? Oh boy. This battle is big enough to warrant the blazing sword, probably formed by Lance and Keith. As for what this battle is going to be, there's the obvious Crone and Hagar, there's Lotor and the generals if he ends up betraying Team Voltron, and there's the Rift creatures. The episode's called Defenders of All Universes, implying that alternate realities will be involved in this episode, and the Rift creatures are a major part of that storyline. In an old Voltron Robotech comic crossover, a comet with the same aesthetic as the Dark creatures showed Lotor an alternate reality, with Hagar's guidance. And in an episode of Voltron Defender of the Universe, there was a comet that led the team to the end of the universe, where they saw a goddess with the same aesthetic as the Dark creatures as well. Hagar was involved with this comet too. I can see what happens in this episode being reminiscent of what happened in 80s Voltron and old Voltron comics. Just think of the stuff surrounding the Rift in this episode. Imagine getting more alternate versions of characters. Imagine Sven and Slav returning, or the old friend is Shiro himself. The way some articles have talked about him, it seems likely. Unless the old friend turns out to be a Blade member or a season 1 or 2 character. There's a still on the Den of Geek website that I saved. This still is from the final episode, and the JPEG was titled Wormhole. Yet, this doesn't look like your classic Altane ship-made wormhole. It doesn't have the fancy patterns around it. So that's a mysterious hole in space. There's a devastating sacrifice, oh no. Perhaps it's Crone. By this point, he knows Hagar is using him. She's gaining control over him, and before she gains full power over him, with what he still has left of him, Crone decides to sacrifice himself. Despite him not being the real Shiro, he's still spent so much time with the Paladins. He didn't know he was a clone, and he doesn't want to intentionally hurt them, so before she can use him to hurt them more, he gets rid of himself. Other options could be a Krolia sacrifice, although as I've stated in several videos that would be awful for Keith's mentality. There are other more minor yet still important characters that could be the sacrifice to, Kolavan as an example, or someone, for instance Lotor or Hagar, sacrifices themselves to the Dark creatures. They both have strong ties to them. You can see it in their glowing eyes. Hagar's eyes turned like this after she was corrupted by the Dark creatures. Lotor was conceived before Unnerva and Zarkon went into the Rift. However, he was born afterwards. Lotor was with his mother and father when they went into the Rift the first time. The Dark creatures and quintessence also affected him. It's why his eyes were this color in the vision Hagar had. It's why he ages slowly and has lived as long as he has. It's why his eye colors, skin tone, and hair color don't match either of his parents' natural colors. Quintessence, the Rift, and the Dark creatures changed all of their appearances. Unnerva's Altane marks on her cheeks were originally the same as Allura, Allura's mother, Alfor, and Kran's, along with the alternate reality Altane's cheek marks, and the random Altane civilians' cheek marks. That was until she got more and more obsessed with quintessence. As it corrupted her, her cheek marks grew longer. After she went into the Rift, her cheek marks ended up looking like this. They became much longer through unnatural causes. When Lotor's cheek marks glowed, we were able to see that they were longer than normal ones. It's because he's also had exposure to quintessence, the Rift, and the Dark creatures. The Dark creatures are in him too, but they didn't get control over him like they did on Unnerva and Zarkon. If he goes there again, maybe they will. Perhaps to get quintessence from the Rift, it requires an equal exchange.
Replenish her with energy. It was an equal exchange.
A life force for the life force that is quintessence.
Quintessence is life. Into the Rift.
Lotor's motives come from a genuine place. He does want to go into the Rift to get unlimited quintessence to help out the Kalra Empire, but there's an ulterior motive alongside that. There's another reason he wants to go into the Rift. Whether that's because of the Dark creatures or because he wants to continue Unnerva's work, we'll see. Despite his ulterior motive though, Lotor won't betray the Paladins just because. It'll be because he's pushing things too far. He's willing to risk so much for his goal. His own aggression will be his undoing.
And in the end, your own aggression is your undoing.
If he's going to betray them, it's either because they're not willing to go as far as he is, and he merely doesn't want them to be a burden to him, or he doesn't want to hurt them by how far he is willing to go. He has grown close to them, especially Allura. He might not like the danger he's putting them in, but still wants to carry on with what he's doing. Or the Dark creatures completely take him over like they did on Unnerva and Zarkon. They amplify the bad in him like they did to them. Either way, the Kalra Empire is falling apart right now. They have Voltron, they'll have quintessence soon, yet there's still a civil war going on. On the topic of Hagar, Hagar does care about Lotor. You can see it in the small things she does. She didn't want Zarkon to kill him. What if she sees Lotor in danger and sacrifices herself for him? Unnerva never wanted to get corrupted.
We must have it. Get back.
Her personality as Unnerva is different from hers as Hagar. Hagar is influenced by the dark creatures. She was essentially mind-swished. The Unnerva side, when she sees what she's done wrong, might want to fix it. If Lotor ends up killing Unnerva, that's going to be painful. On a less serious note, someone is changing their hair. In fact, several characters have permanent appearance changes. One of them's definitely Keith, but the others are unknown. There is of course Shiro, who is prone to hair changes. Real Shiro's been gone for months. If he returns this season, like this episode description suggests he might, then his hair could have very well have changed. Hagar's another candidate for a possible appearance change. Her Unnerva side has been slipping through. We briefly saw her change back into Unnerva in season 4. Maybe she'll change back again. Going into the Rift changed Unnerva and Zarkon's appearances. Since Lotor's going into the Rift, his appearance could change too. Keith, Shiro, Lotor, and Hagar are the logical options. But if Pidge's hair grows longer, Allura gets a haircut, Hunk gets rid of his headband, or Lance gets a mullet, then sure. Anything can happen with any of the characters' hairstyles. Why not all of them? Kimberly Brooks, Allura's voice actress, said there's an episode where everyone sleeps for a really long time. That episode might be this season. Imagine season 6 ending in a similar way to season 1. All I can say now, with season 6 just around the corner, is I'm terrified. But anyway, thanks for watching and stay hyped for season 6.